Welcome back to Meerkat Musings, everybody. And on this occasion, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I do for a living, actually, and my experiences dealing with various members of the public. Because what I do is I work in retail sales, and therefore I deal with a great many different types of people over the course of any given day. I've also worked in retail for what will be 11 years this year, in various different types of retail, ranging from office supplies to bathrooms to technology to furniture. So in that time, I've got some experience as to what I would describe as good customers and what I would describe as not so good customers. And there are a few philosophies that I definitely feel the need to challenge. I'm sure you're all aware of the old saying, the customer is always right. Well, I can categorically say, and I believe anyone that's worked in retail will agree with me on this one, no, the customer is not always right. That idea is one of the most painful and difficult and awkward ideas that anyone who works in retail has ever had the misfortune to deal with. It all starts really with the very first moment, if you like. It starts with when the store opens, or perhaps to be more precise, before the store is actually open. I've had several experiences concerning customers, particularly at my most recent job, where I am now, but in other jobs as well, where people will turn up wanting to be let into the store even when the store is clearly closed. And if you're someone that's done this, or perhaps for whatever reason does this on a regular basis, I'd love to hear from you as to why you're wanting to get into a shop when it's quite obviously closed. By obvious, I mean, for example, when the shutters are all down, when 3 of the 4 doors into the store are locked, and you've rattled 2 of them already, and you know therefore that some of the doors are locked. You can tell the shutters are down, and yet for some reason you're still sort of coming in through the one and only open door that's open for staff, not for customers, and then asking if the store is open. If you're one of those people, then please explain to me why you do that, because surely the hint is quite clear. If the shutters are down and if several of the doors are locked, then that should be a pretty big indicator that the store is not open. You might see some people walking in there, but those people are going to be staff. If you're not sure, check the opening hours. Every store has the opening hours on their window. It doesn't take much more than about 10 seconds to scan them to realise, oh, they're not open yet on this particular day. So if you're one of these people that for some reason doesn't check the opening hours, then I have to ask as to why. And of course, in this day and age, you can check these things online as well. So before you've even left your house, you can double check to see, right, when does this shop open? When does this shop open? Is there much point in me getting there beforehand? Instead, we've got people turning up half an hour early, trying to get in, actually getting into the shop, and then acting surprised to learn that we're actually closed. Well, again, when the shutters are down, when you're rattling locked doors, take a hint, to be honest. If we're not open, then you're not welcome in the store. For starters, that should be pretty obvious, and it's pretty obvious that we're not open. The other side of that as well is that sometimes, and this sort of goes back to my experience working for a well-known office supplies and technology retailer, sometimes procedures change, and in this particular instance, this concerned what the store was doing with its print and copy centre. There was a set of self-service machines, and they were changing the rules, as it were, as to how you pay for your self-service copying. People would sometimes do copies, they would do quite a few more copies than they were planning to pay for, and they'd end up paying for, say, 3 out of the 7 self-service prints they've done. And it was difficult to verify, especially if it's busy, as to what they've actually done. So In those circumstances, what the company did, they brought in these cards, these preloaded credit card things to then load into the copiers. It was awkward, it was cumbersome, these weren't great things to use, although I can understand why they were brought in. But the company had this, if you like, advertised for some time, and there were messages at every till point. There were messages on the self-service copiers themselves, even on the front windows of the shop. Nonetheless, when this service launched, we still had customers grumbling that it wasn't well advertised. How much more advertising can we do to mark up these changes? Not anything really. And again, it just comes down to awareness and paying attention to what's actually going on. If one of these people that's complained about something not being advertised, only to discover that it's actually been advertised the whole time, again, I have to ask, what are you doing? Pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to the signs in these shops. They're not there for the benefit of the staff. They're there for your benefit. So please read them. And again, coming back to this office supplies retailer, I remember very clearly when we were changing the opening hours of the shop. It used to be open from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, and the store I worked at changed to 9 in the morning to 7 at night. And again, this was advertised on the windows, this was advertised by the self-service copiers, this was advertised at every till point, and we still had people turn up at 8 o'clock in the morning and then give us grief because we weren't open and saying it wasn't well advertised. Well, it was well advertised. The problem is you didn't bother to look. And yet, as staff and salespeople in these shops, we're somehow the ones taking the brunt of the issue and getting blamed for it. Well, no, actually, it's the customer's issue. It's if you're a customer in those circumstances and you've done that and you haven't looked, it's your fault. Just because you're the customer doesn't mean you're right. It doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes yourself. So just pay attention, please, and you'll make everyone's lives, including your own, a lot easier. It's not difficult to do that. So I don't understand. Again, if you're a customer and you've done these things, I would love to understand why. Because I can't understand it myself. I really can't. Moving on, sort of carrying on with this idea that the customer is always right. Well, again, when it comes to, say, for example, repairs for faulty products, for example, I had one which sticks in the memory where it was a laptop. It had a shatter point in the middle of the screen, as though someone had jabbed it with a pen or with their finger. It was a big shatter point, but with a very clear impact mark on it. It had been struck by something pointy. And they insisted that this just happened by itself. And they carried on insisting this, and they insisted that we shouldn't challenge them because they're the customer, they knew what they were talking about. Well, excuse me, but we deal with laptops and technology on a regular basis, so I think we know about it too. We warned them that the manufacturers would be the ones to have the final say. They'll evaluate it, they'll judge it. As a matter of fact, we even took pictures and sent it to the manufacturers first because we knew if it went off for repair to the manufacturers, they were going to charge the customer. Because they're going to take one look at that screen and determine it's accidental damage. Accidental damage is not covered by manufacturer's warranty. Something else that we explained very clearly to the customer. But the customer is always right. So the customer said, nope, send my laptop off for repair. I insist upon it. They'll deal with it under the terms of the warranty. Well, guess what? They didn't. And then the customer's coming into the shop murmuring at us, wanting us to do something about it. It's a manufacturer's warranty. It's down to the manufacturers to decide these things. We at the shop, we can simply act as a go-between, but we don't actually have any authority to override the manufacturer's warranty. So in those circumstances, again, if you're going into a shop with an electronic item like a laptop, PC, TV, DVD player, and you start kicking off at the staff as to why it's not working or as to why the warranty doesn't cover this, that and the other, remember something for me. It's a manufacturer's warranty. We in the shop, we have no control over what their terms and conditions are. It's down to them to decide what happens to it next. If they decide to charge, that's not the store charging you, that's the manufacturers. We have no control over that. We have no control over how long it takes to repair these things as well. So if it's way for repair and it's being fixed and dealt with, great, but we can't make them do it any quicker than they otherwise would. So again, please remember that there are manufacturer's warranties in place for a reason. They're not shop warranties. So don't come into a shop moaning at us if there's a problem. It's not appreciated. It won't change anything. And I'll let you in on a little secret, and this applies to multiple scenarios, regardless of what it might be. If you're the sort of customer that comes in and you plan to kick off and be difficult and be awkward, the chances are your inquiry, whatever it might be, is going to get put to the bottom of the pile. Because we appreciate you might be frustrated with something. We in the shop, yes, we do make mistakes from time to time. We're human beings, we're not perfect. But for that reason, we are human beings. We're not machines, we're not robots. Just because we work at a shop doesn't mean we're any less of a person. And we'll do our best to help you, of course we will. But if you come into that shop giving us attitude, us grief, shouting at us, screaming at us, are we going to be more inclined to help you or less inclined to help you? You need to think about how you want to be treated and how you treat others in those circumstances. If we've made a mistake, I get it's frustrating. I get it's annoying. It annoys us as well. We don't want to make mistakes. Of course we don't. It affects us at the end of the day. But equally, especially if it's something we haven't done wrong and you're still kicking off at us, again, just remember, we are human beings too. And we can be tired, we can be having bad days, we can be, stressed out about stuff going on in our lives as well. Taking out your frustrations on us will not make your circumstances any better. It will not make us more inclined to help you. If you come in and you're reasonable and you're pleasant and polite, guess what? We'll go the extra mile for you. But if you come in and you're shouting and screaming, we won't. I had a customer, again, at the technology and office supplies retailer, who once threw a massive tantrum at me and my colleagues as well over a laptop that he was having from display that wasn't quite ready yet. And it was most unbelievably impatient. He was basically a big baby. There's no way I can describe him, a big baby. And in those sort of circumstances, I'm not inclined to help. I'm not inclined to think, you know what, I'm going to go the extra mile for that guy. No, absolutely not. As I said, I appreciate things can happen which are frustrating. Sometimes it's the fault of the store, sometimes it's not. In either circumstance, please remember, we're going to do the very best we can to help you within the boundary of the rules that we've got. And where possible, we'll even try and go the extra mile. But not if you're going to be aggressive and nasty to us. At that point, we'll simply think, you know what, whatever query you've got, that's going right down to the back of the pile. Because we don't deserve to be dealing with that kind of stuff. On the subject of things like customer service and things like that, and this is a little bit of the flip side here, sometimes, and this happened a few times at this office supplies retailer, there'll be rules and regulations in place, and bear in mind that we at store level, all we can do is follow those rules and regulations. As much as we might even want to do more, our hands are tied. We have procedures to follow. If we don't follow them, we get in trouble. Now, head office, customer services, area managers, whatever, they may have some power to override these rules, but we don't at the store level. We don't have that authority. We can only follow the rules as they're laid down to us. If you don't like those rules, that's fine, but remember, we didn't make them. Us in the shops, we don't set these rules. We simply follow them as we are told to do. If we don't follow them, we can get in trouble. We can face disciplinary action, worst case scenario, lose our jobs. And we're not going to be risking our jobs for anyone. So again, please bear that in mind the next time you think about kicking off in a shop. I'm sorry guys, this has been a bit of a moan, hasn't it? But it does frustrate me. I see it when I'm out as a customer shopping. I'll see other customers having a go about something which is beyond the control of people in the shop. I'll see them getting really angry and arsey with people. And I just think, why? You're not going to achieve anything that way. All you're going to do is get your inquiry put to the bottom of the pile. And you'll be lucky if it's treated seriously because you've been nasty. And I just don't get it. I don't get why people can't read opening hours or check message boards for change of procedures in this day and age when you've got all kinds of access to websites and things like that. It's easy to check opening hours. It's easy to see if there have been price changes or policy updates and things like that. Why people don't check these things and why people then get difficult because they haven't checked it and why they then blame the people in the shop, I don't know. If you're a customer and you've done these things, then please get in touch, leave a comment, leave a message. I'd love to understand the mentality behind this. I think that everyone should do 2 years service, if you like, in retail, in shops and stores to get an understanding as to exactly what it's like. First of all, you'll find it's not as easy as you think it is. There's this tendency, especially in some forms of retail, for people to look down upon shop workers. Oh, you work in a pound shop. Oh, you can't be very well educated. Blah, 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 blah. All that kind of stuff. But bear in mind, you're normally in one of these shops asking the shop assistant for help because they've got knowledge you don't have. And you need someone to help you. So don't belittle them. And bear in mind, what you see them doing on the shop floor is a fraction of what they actually do. Every shop, everywhere, all the time will have price changes to do. There will be stock moves to do. There will be deliveries to unpack, customers to deal with. There will be all kinds of service issues over the course of a day. There will be more deliveries the next day to deal with. There will be banking to do. There will be all kinds of stuff going on that you don't see, which simply means that what you're seeing is a fraction of what actually goes on. Those of us who work in retail, whether it's a big sales environment, whether it's a pound shop, whether it's a supermarket, whatever it might be, we all work bloody hard. We do long hours and we're on our feet all day and we're doing some weird shifts as well sometimes. And you're coming up to us because you need our help in some way, shape or form. So don't talk down to us, don't belittle us. Especially if it's somewhere like, for example, an electronics retailer as well. You're going in there, or some other sort of specialist retailer. Remember, you're going into these places because you need help and assistance with something. You need the knowledge and experience of that person in that shop to help you. So why you belittle them, I don't know. But I've seen it done. And again, you do that, are we going to be more inclined to help you or less inclined to help you? Think about it logically for a second. Anyway, that's rant over. So yeah, I just urge you, if you're a customer, a regular customer in particular, of any shop somewhere, and you think that you are guilty of these behaviours, please just take a deep breath, show a bit of common sense, try to remember you're talking to a human being, and try to remember that human being is there to help you as much as they can. But like you, they're not perfect, they'll make mistakes, and like you, they can't control everything. And then if you remember that, everyone will get on a lot better, everything will run a lot more smoothly.